at this point, I hear screaming coming from the backyard.
She takes a deep breath and she was like, story time. So some time ago, I was actually scrolling through TikTok and I had saw this one podcast where they were talking about this kid who, you know what? I'm not gonna go into that because I feel like I'm gonna end up telling the whole story in 10 seconds. I will say that having been a nurse for as long as I've been a nurse and having done all of this per diem, registry, travel experience exposed me to so much that sometimes the experiences and the memories, sometimes they mush, you know, like sometimes one experience, I can't necessarily tell if it's a part of another experience. I'm saying all of this to say craziness is common. Absurdity is common. People not thinking about what they're doing, thinking about their next set of actions and how it could drastically affect the rest of their lives. That, I'm gonna start the story. So again, some time ago, I was working in this urgent care and it was a per diem gig. As much as I didn't go there often, I was still familiar with the doctors. So for those of you who work in urgent care, you know that when you get in there, you are paired with a doctor, either for the morning, the whole day, or for the afternoon. When you see the doctor that you're working with, you're like, oh, this doctor's really fast. This doctor's really thorough. This doctor is really detailed. You know what you have to do to get yourself set up for the day so that you and the doctor could have a smooth shift, as smooth as you could make it. Now in urgent care, that's rough because the difference with urgent care and even ERs is that at primary care office or an OBGYN office or a specialty office, you typically have a schedule, a planned day. Whereas in an urgent care or an ER, you don't know what's coming. So you do your best to prepare. All that being said, I'm just gonna preface this story with all of this information so that once I finally begin telling the story, there will be no pauses to explain certain things, okay? I hope you guys are all familiar with the superheroes, the specific ones. So there's Spider-Man, whom we know needed to be, or not needed, but got bit by a spider prior to him developing his skills and prior to him becoming ultimately Spider-Man. There's Ant-Man and the Wasp. Those two superheroes, they take on the form of an ant and a wasp. And then there's the Flash. He didn't take on the form of any creature, didn't need to get bitten by anything, but this was kind of like a freak accident and an experiment together that turned him into the fastest man alive. And then there's Venom. That was a crazy experiment that got out of hand and he turned into Venom. All of that being said, everything that all of those superheroes have in common is that it wasn't a natural ability. Something absolutely insane or crazy needed to take place for those superheroes to develop their abilities. Okay. Now, the shift has begun. I learned that on that day I was working with a relatively fast doctor, meaning I needed to be on my P's and Q's. I needed to have all of my rooms set up because this doctor moves through patients. We'll call him Dr. Peterson. It's not like Dr. Peterson doesn't care. Dr. Peterson had been a doctor for a long time and very intelligent. And I learned so much from him when I worked with him. But typically he'll see an issue, hear about an issue, and he'll be like, ah, that's what this is. I don't recall him ever being wrong, okay? Back to the story. So I was just trying to get my room set up. And the way this urgent care was set up, you could see the patients walking in. Like there wasn't like a back. I mean, there was a back, but the back wasn't that far back, okay? We're not gonna get into the details of the schematics of this urgent care, okay? As I was trying to set up and find everything for wound care, stitches, splinting, just setting my life up for success, I see this, what appeared to be a parent and a child walking in. Mom looked like she was in distress, like she had just seen a ghost. The kid looked completely oblivious. However, his entire right arm was significantly larger than the left. And so what he was wearing allowed me to see like what looked like burn marks. I was a little taken back at first. I was like, oh God, this is how the day is gonna start. And so a number of things ran through my head. If this is a domestic violence thing, this is going to be a lengthy process. Also emotional, okay? If this is I'm not gonna get too far. All I'm gonna say is 10 million things ran through my head and it threw me off with the whole preparation process, but that ended up being Dr. Peterson's first patient. So I was like, all right, let's just go ahead and get this party started. They were registered at the front. Information was put in. I didn't even take a look at the information because again, when we look at the chart, or excuse me, not the chart, the schedule, and we see that we're working with a doctor that's super fast or super slow, we get into the frame of mind of getting through that day successfully. And so in my mind, I'm working with a fast doctor. I'm not about to take any time to overlook anything. I'm just gonna bring them back, get their vitals, get the story, because Dr. Peterson is ready to see this patient. I don't know where Dr. Peterson is, wherever he is, he's ready. And therefore I need to be ready. And the patient needs to be ready. I got like 30 seconds, come on, let's go. So as of now, I still don't know what's wrong. The patient comes back, I get a fresh set of vitals on the good arm, blood pressure, everything, good arm. This kid is elementary school age, okay? We go back into the room, I start asking questions. So mom, who looks, like I said, like she'd seen a ghost, was like,
Are you familiar with the superhero movies?
what? There's way too many superhero movies, but I really just need you to tell me what's going on.
No, I understand. But I just need you to know that I'm not trying to kill my kid. I'm not trying to abuse him. So just hear me out.
Okay. So she goes on to explain to me, similar to what I just explained to you guys, the whole Ant-Man, the Wasp, the Venom, whatever. She used other examples, but moral of the story, she did similar to me what I did to you guys to get you guys to understand the story.
He thought that he was a mad scientist and that he could give himself superpowers. I don't know what he was doing in my kitchen, but half of my kitchen ended up being on fire. He ended up being burned. I thought I can get the burn under control. I'm trying to get my burning kitchen under control. So many things are going on.
Okay. Can I see the burn? The burn's not terrible, as much as what I saw was really just about it. She had been telling him to hold something on there that he obviously wasn't doing because he's an elementary school age kid and typically they don't listen. What I wanted to know was why his arm was completely swollen, and she was like,
well, like I was saying, I thought that we could get the burn under control and I was trying to put my kitchen out. So I told him to get as far as possible away from the kitchen, please. I don't want to make matters worse. He finds himself outside, follows instructions. Please get away from the kitchen, get away from me. How did this happen? I don't care. Get away. Let me put the kitchen out. I'll figure you out, all right?
So mom's panicking. This is what she's expressing to me. She's, thinking,
I might have to call 911. They might have to come make sure that yada yada yada, blah blah. I don't want my house to burn down.
Okay, cool. What happened to his arm? Why is his entire arm swollen?
I sent him outside. We live in a family-friendly neighborhood, so he's always playing with kids. Always playing with kids. In the process of me trying to put the fire out in the kitchen.
The fire is out at this point, is what mom is telling me.
Fire is out at this point. I hear screaming coming from the backyard.
She takes a deep breath and she was like,
I don't know how this happened so quickly, but he managed to get bitten by a snake.
In my mind, I'm thinking, where does all the superhero stuff come into all of this? And the whole mad scientist thing makes sense, but so you just sent your kid outside and he got bitten by a snake? But here it is. He blurts out at the end of mom explaining everything,
I thought I was gonna turn into a snake, Mom.
Mom rubs her forehead in utter frustration. First, the kid tries to create an experiment to where he could transform himself into a superhero and nearly burns the house down. In an attempt for mom to get everything under control, she just tells the kid, please get away from here. I don't want any more damage to be done to you. I don't want anybody thinking I'm abusing you. I don't plan on taking you into any healthcare facilities. You go outside and you get bit by a snake, hoping to turn into a snake because you were so desperate to turn into a superhero. So I told mom, I said, I am so sorry. Honestly, you will likely be sent to the emergency room. I'm going to step out, tell the doctor what happened, and he will likely send you to the emergency room. The emergency room will likely take you right in. If anything, if he thinks that, this needs to be taken care of in a quicker fashion, we'll just call 911 and they'll come get you from here. So I step out, I start to tell Dr. Peterson what happened, and I'm trying to hurry up and tell him because he's walking into the room. Again, fast doctor. As soon as he sees me walk out, he's getting ready to walk in, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a minute. Kid tried to burn the house down, also tried to get bit by a snake, thinking that he would turn into a superhero. His arm is 3 times the size of his other arm. His shoulders deflate.
Oh, God. Let's just start the whole, the process. I'm going to put a note in.
In these facilities, when you have to call 911, there needs to be a note ready to take with them to the hospital so that the hospital knows exactly what's going on. They go to the closest hospital. The doctor then has to call that hospital to give the ER physician a report. Every facility is different, but obviously the shoulder deflating thing was really more so, I hope we can get everything done that we need to get done, that's a part of this process, done in time. Technically, I couldn't really follow up on the care of the kid, but from my understanding, the kid ended up being just fine. In a lot of areas, there are snakes. Sometimes the reaction is simply a reaction to you being bit and not you being injected with venom. Sometimes it is venom, but in that particular area, venomous snakes were not a common thing. But you can't really take chances. You can't just be like, well, venomous snakes don't really live here. He'll be fine. Ice it, go home. You can't do that. Kids will be kids. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Click the link in the caption section to explore everything else that I have going on. I don't recall whether I've mentioned this in my previous videos or not, but I'm always mentioning something because I've always got my hands in something, but I have started a storytelling podcast. So that will also be something that you can explore once you click the link in the caption. Explore Blake Quake Beats, my editor. Take a look at my literary masterpieces. Take a look at all the things that I've gotten my hands in. Consider being a member of I've got some exclusive content on there. Just become a part of the storytelling community, the Nurse Cast community. Take a look at my podcast. That is on this platform here on YouTube. Thanks, guys.
Please make it to stop! Make it to stop! Me! Please! Me!